In 2015, this guy, George Pickering, just went through a heart attack at the age of 27 years old. His lifestyle is pretty terrible. He loves to drink a lot of soda, a lot of beer, a lot of alcohol in general, and his way of eating is not correct. His lifestyle in general is kind of horrible as well. He doesn't do any sports and he doesn't take care of himself in any shape or form, to the point where he had a heart attack at the age of 27 years old. That is way too young to be having a heart attack at that point. Normally at that age, you have a supernatural power where you have all the strength you will be having in your lifetime. And at that point, I don't understand how you can keep up with a very, very bad lifestyle to the point where you go to the hospital for a heart attack. That's kind of crazy. And that's today's story. Hope you guys are ready for this one. And before we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That will help the channel immensely. Thank you. A heart attack happens when an artery that sends blood and oxygen to the heart is blocked. Fatty cholesterol containing deposits build up over time, forming plaques in the heart's arteries. If a plaque ruptures, a blood clot can form. The clot can block arteries, causing a heart attack. And as soon as that happened to Mr. George, he got put in the ambulance that took him to the hospital. And over there in the hospital, his situation was so critical that they put him in ICU right away, because he was actually dying and it was a matter of hours. After a few diagnoses from the doctors, this is what they said. The doctors concluded that the brain was dead already. They tried everything they could, but they can clearly see that the brain is not responding anymore, which means that the brain is dead and that actually George is dead right now. The only solution would be to actually unplug him and just let him go. Literally, you are in that example of looking at a house that has no one in there, but the lights are still on. So in that situation, the father did not approve of the decision of the doctor, and instead he tells the doctors that no, he was not gonna unplug his son. The father was sure that his son was not dead and he just needed a little bit more time. And so for a few hours they were going back and forth at it, from the doctors to the father. They were going back and forth at it, back and forth, saying, yeah, we gotta unplug him, to, yeah, no, we're not gonna unplug him. And at that point, the situation got so heated up that the doctors even brought security to the situation to help them get the father out of there actually. And now they start to tell him that they need to unplug him to actually give those machines to somebody else that has better chances of surviving to something like this. They tell him that his brain is actually dead. Even though the rest of his body is still functional and all of his organs are still functional, the brain is the only part that's dead. And so they concluded that the brain is dead. George was dead at that point. And so they tell him that there's nothing they can do for him. Right after that, the doctors tell the father that he has to say his goodbyes to his son because they are about to unplug him. But right at that time, the father, he tells them, okay, give me one moment. I will be right back. I'm going to my car and I'll be right back. And so he goes back to the parking garage of the hospital, back to his car. He opens up his car and he grabs his gun. And as soon as he grabbed his gun, he starts to go right back to the hospital. He went back to the room where his son is, and he got his gun out, pointed it right in front of the doctors, and he tells them, now what? Now he tells everybody to get out of the room except him and the other doctor and his son. And they have to wait until his son gets up. And guess what happened, of course? A whole SWAT team got called, and a whole SWAT team showed up to the hospital, and they were ready to go in that room and shoot him, because literally at that point he was holding the doctor as a hostage. So in the situation, you have the doctor, the dad, the son in this room, and right in the other side of the room you have 10 men waiting for for the call. And they of course brought the biggest weapons they had. The SWAT team starts to talk to him and starts to talk to the dad, telling him that he's got 10 minutes to open up that door and give them the weapon, or else they will come in and shoot him right away. But the dad is not afraid. He's shouting out of his lungs. He's shouting. He's just like, my son is not dead. Just give him a little bit more time. And he's still shouting that the doctors are making a mistake and that he will gladly die next to his son if the doctors are actually correct. And when he sees that they are about to come in, he starts to hold his son's hand really hard, and he tells his son to wake up, to please wake up. That's his last chance, last moment. The doctor next to him is still saying that there is nothing he could do yet. The brain is dead and has been dead for hours now. He is the doctor and he knows better than him. Then 30 seconds are left. The dad is really hopeful, doesn't want to let go of his son. And then the countdown starts. 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Then the dad throws the weapon on the ground and everybody can see the weapon, and he himself goes on the ground fully, and he says, I surrender, to everybody. At that point, nobody understands what's going on. Why is he surrendering that easily? What happened? Like, it's weird that he just surrendered like that. And then the doctor turns around, goes outside of the room, and he tells the SWAT team, hey, I think I'm not in danger anymore. I think he's actually surrendering right now. And so the SWAT team comes in, open up the door, and they find him literally on the ground. So they take him off the ground and they start on cuffing him, because you never know, and they took his weapon from the ground as well, and they still don't understand, like, why did he just surrender like this? What happened? And that's when they asked him, why did you surrender just like this? What happened? And that's when he tells them, my son squeezed my hand, so he's actually alive. And he tells them that the only goal he had in mind is to make sure that his son was still alive. And as soon as he did that, that's it. Weapon on the ground. He didn't want it to shoot no one, anybody. And right as he was saying that, everybody heard a noise coming from the back. And as soon as they turned, the son was actually alive. The son actually started to open up his eyes and to wake up. And at that point, the son looks at everybody in a state of not understanding what's going on around him, you know? And then the doctors are so shocked. They come to him and they start to go like, yeah, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you raise your hand? Can you close your eye? Whatever. And he's actually understanding and applying to everything that they're saying to him. And so basically, he woke up from being brain dead, literally. And the funny thing is, he made 100% recovery out of all of what he experienced. And it's like he never even got anything. If nothing, it's just weird. The father, on the other hand, will stay in jail for 10 months for what he did though. But he didn't even get to stay in jail because the hospital took off the complaints they made about him, and so nothing happened. But I am sure that has to do with the fact that they were literally going to kill his son while he was in a way still alive, and they had a false diagnosis in a way. And that's how the story ends, with this crazy turnover of the son going to the hospital and thinking that he's actually dead, but he was not. And his father, thank God for the father, he saw right through everybody, and he was the only person who could help his son at that point. If he was not there, his son would have just left. That was it. And right after that, a few months later, we can still see him with his father celebrating every Christmas every year, and even more for the rest of their life. Don't forget to like and subscribe.